Dear friends, today it is the time for the Dhamma talk, and daily we will be having this hour allocated for Dhamma talk. Since we are meeting almost the same people, I thought of conducting these talks as a series, and the common topic will be one of the particular discourse delivered by the Buddha. It is known as the Upadana Pariwatta Sutta. That particular sutta you find in the one in this teaching known as the Tripitaka, specifically in the Sutta Pitaka, and also Samyutta Nikaya Khanda Samyutta. Upadana Pariwatta Sutta is a topic the Buddha himself proposed to the monks gathered at that moment, so that he take a chance to explain or deal this subject in detail, thinking that it will be beneficial for the meditating monks. The opening of the sutta says, Panchime bhikkhave upadana khanda. This is a very common in the studies from the Tripitaka. Panchame bhikkhave upadana khanda, or bhikkhu, there are these 5 aggregates subject to clinging. So this is the main theme we are going to discuss with the help of this particular discourse. So, why this clinging, or why these aggregates become important? Because the Buddha, when he is presenting his Four Noble Truths, he is first and foremost taking this misery, or this unsatisfactoriness of the human being. So his main idea is to liberate human beings, or salvation of the human beings from this suffering. And therefore, he has to go into, or otherwise he is inviting us to go into the point to whereby understanding the cause of suffering. So as far as the direct cause or proximate cause for the suffering is concerned, the Buddha is asking us to see it is nothing but this clinging or the desire. So when that kind of radical kind of suggestion come into being, more and more you to understand this clinging or the desire, it is when you get the normal common understanding as to whether this desire is something internal or external. Whenever the clinging and the desire comes, or the uninstructed mind, or a conventional mind, appear like the desirable objects are external or overtly rather than internal. But as far as the clingings are concerned, this becomes a questionable. Whether the so-called clinging arising from inside, or whether it is seated inside or outside. So, and the second thing is, what are the things that we take for this clinging? So, this particular sutta, the Buddha says, there are 5 aggregates that are, which are subjected to this clinging. So, first and foremost, we have to understand these 5 aggregates. The Buddha enumerated Rupa-upadana khando, Vedana-upadana khando, Sanya-upadana khando, Sankhara-upadana khando, Vijnana-upadana khando. He says that form as an aggregate subjected to clinging. The feelings as an aggregate subjected to clinging. Perception as an aggregate subjected to clinging. And volitional formations or mental formations as it's a subject to clinging, and consciousness as an aggregate subject to clinging. So, when we are taking an entity or a being, male or female, this is the way we can separate it in the philosophical basis. Sometimes this kind of separation, the form, feelings, perception, mental formations and the consciousness go into fight. And at a time it presented as two, form and the name, or materiality and the mentality. Here the form is known as materiality and the mentality is divided into four: feelings, perception, mental formations and the consciousness. So it becomes the two representing in a way that it appears like five. This is the most common way of presentation, but when you are reading in the canon or in the teaching of the Buddha, sometimes the form itself divided into four and all the other part categorized as simple as name. Whenever the forms are to specialized into four, it is the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, that means the earth element, the air element, heat element and the water element. And that categorization, more specialization given to the materiality and all the feelings, perception and mental formations and the consciousness known as name. So that is how the name and matter come into being. And according to the individual's specialization, some times it is divided to matter into four and name into one. Sometimes matter into one and the name into four. In this category, that is the latter part is the one. The matter is as one subject and all the other mental to form into four categories. So in order to emphasize this kind of address as to invite us to go into that, the Buddha says, as far as I have not pondered into this and come into know each and every aggregate in four phases or four way of consideration, I never declared that I have became omniscient or I have the full understanding. In this world, it's full of celestial beings and the humans, recluses and the laity, kings and all the kind of things. So when and where I manage to see all these five aggregate in a five-phase or five-fold consideration, then only I confident and declare that I got the omniscient knowledge. So that is what the Buddha wants us to go in detail in the same way. That is why he is taking this opportunity to explain the way, the method that he used, and out of compassion he is prescribing us to take the same course, same route, to understand and experience in such a way so that we also can get the salvation from this suffering. So therefore this is basically for those who already understood the friction, the suffering, the burning nature, the total nature of the human existence. And if someone is with that basic common sense, is going to search about the proximate cause for such people, this will be a very good guidelines. For example, if you come to know the epidemic kind of disease and this whole area is subject to and the pressure of this particular disease. If someone to get rid of this disease, he or she has to go and see and isolate the root cause, the pathogen, in order to prescribe a particular medicine. So, just treating the symptoms won't help to get rid of the causative pathogen. There one has to study, keep on observing not only the symptoms, but the early part of the symptoms, and go back as much as possible to the isolation of the original pathogen. Because when the disease becomes spreading, not only the original pathogen, due to the work of the original germ, the immunity goes down, and many other germs also going to infect, and ultimately symptoms become complicated. So therefore going to the root is one has to be very patient. And otherwise, if you, without knowing the root cause, whatever the medicine you are going to give, it will never address to the main issue. So this is very common both in the medical science as well as in the teaching of the Buddha. First you have to understand the question, the suffering itself, and not to hate this particular suffering. If you are going to hate or react, or if you are going to antagonize with that, never you will study. So therefore, even though it is causing so much, inflicting so much of suffering, one has to go to the source. So there, you must have a kind of an awareness, a choiceless awareness, in order to patiently study the transition from the original pathogen to the epidemic kind of disease symptoms appearing in individual being. So in that sense, you have to go back to the source. Exactly the same thing, the way the Buddha explained these Four Noble Truths, the suffering, truth of suffering, and then cause of suffering, and the liberation from suffering, and the path to liberating the suffering. So, Upadana Pariwatta Sutta, the particular sutta that I have selected, is basically dealing with the second truth, the understanding, or going deep into the root cause of suffering. So, they are, when I am as a student, when we go to the classes, it says once you have seen a symptom, you have to extract all the germs and culture them, and understand how many pathogenic agents you can separate from the epidemic level. And then you have to apply that pathogen into the new cultures and see which one is going to give the particular symptoms. And meanwhile, you have to understand the early signs of the symptoms also. So when you go back, working backward, whenever you are to see or guess the possible or probable root cause in the Cox postulation, you have to apply it to a fresh thing and see whether the new inoculation going to give the same symptoms. Then only 2-3 times checking only you can understand the particular inflicting root cause or germ, and then only such researchers can recommend for this germ, this is the antidote or the antibiotics or whatever. So here also, the way the Buddha applied understanding of the root cause of suffering, one has to use one's body as a laboratory. One has to use the teaching of the Buddha as the formula. So in overnight you can't do it. Okay, apply again and again and go backward and see whenever symptoms, basically the desire, the hatred, and the ignorance going to manifest, they are in a very gross level. So whenever the desire going to arise, or hatred going to arise, or any ignorance going to arise, natural outlook or natural way is to hate them or to get rid of them. You get worked up, you get anxiety, you get tensed. But if it is so, you will never be patient enough to understand its developing phases. How this hatred or desire come up to that kind of pathogenic level. So you have to patiently understand when and where the desire arises, when and where the hatred arises, when and where the ignorance arises. You must be very patiently try to understand how it is arising part. That means without the quick reaction, without the inherent way of reacting. But theoretically, you will understand towards the end of this discourse that dealing with that kind of direct dealing with that kind of defilements like desire, the hatred, and the ignorance, where it's a job of a very skillful mind. It's a job of a very trained mind. So therefore, directly one can't tackle that kind of specialist thing. So in order to train oneself to have that preparedness, to have that vigilance, to have that mindfulness, one has to do lesser task or less intensive or less involved thing, and then only you can be prepared with the mindfulness and the diligence, so that slowly you will be skillful to go for the final attack, to the direct defilements. So that is why the Buddha says that clinging is not single-fold, it is happening in five-fold manner. You cling to materiality, the form, you cling to feelings, you cling the perception as a subject, you cling into your own mental formations or volitional formations or consciousness. So out of these five, the easiest or the point where you can start is the clinging towards the aggregate of form. So, knowing the background, while you are going to the aggregate, you can start your early practice only with the form. By first appearance, form is not much of a problem for you. Your problem is with the mind and your problem is with the mental factors. But the Buddha is invariably asking you to go into a Montessori level and start at the materiality whereby you sharpen your weapons, develop your skillfulness. With that sharpened weapons and the developed skillfulness only you go to the mental part. So many in the present day meditators do not understand it. Therefore they try to directly declare war against the defilements and against the mental factors, and find very difficult to tackle it because their weapons are not enough sharpened, the preparedness is not there, and the other qualities are not there. So therefore in this place, in this particular system, the Buddha says, if you wish to tackle the problem from the root to the most virulent end, you have to start from the materiality or form. And that also, that particular form, you have to master into fourfold pattern. That means you have to understand the arising of the form, you have to understand the form as such, and then the arising of the form, the cessation of the form, and the way leading to the cessation. So these become a theoretical endeavors or kind of a pure lab experimentation, leaving aside the real field problem. So that is why the Buddha says, whenever someone is going to take his teaching, he has to learn in threefold manner. First, one has to be endowed with theory knowledge or book knowledge. And the second thing is, he or she has to digest it or deduce it, rationally understand it. If the theory knowledge and the deductive knowledge is strong enough only, one will develop the real faith, that is called resolute faith, then only he or she can apply into this pragmatic side, direct touch or meditation. So, those who have no that kind of a systematic approach, they directly sometimes jump into this meditation as such and go with so much result-oriented way, ultimately get discouraged and they misrepresent the teaching, they misrepresenting the Buddha and misrepresenting, misinterpret their own practice. So, therefore, that kind of a half-hearted practice, and some people with that kind of a half-hearted practice, they go to teach others, write books, and therefore, a lot of misunderstanding and turmoils are there. So when we are going there, of course, we would have started with that kind of things, but when we are keep on going, slowly, one day we will understand that we have done enough trial and error methods. Now we have arrived place, we have enough maturity or patience to go in this ABC method, starting from the zero level. This method is known as the beginner's method. Always you have to develop the beginner's mind, and when and where necessary, you must listen to Dhamma talks. You must study for the sake of theory understanding, for book knowledge. And when and where necessary, you have to discuss it. You have to share with the others as to see whether you have got the point in the theoretical sense. And then only it will come and help you to see it, experience it under your very nose or to get into the direct touch. So therefore, this kind of particular discourses help you to adjust and straighten your theory knowledge. Under such circumstances, to teach or give theory knowledge, the Buddha is asking, what are these, what does it mean by the forms? The materiality or corporeality. In the theoretical sense, the whole, the corporeality, the form, it's divided into four. That is the earth element, the heat element, water element and air element. So at the beginning, he came to know, out of the materiality and mentality, the beginner's mind find easy to deal with the materiality. Without that, difficult to tackle the mentality. That is why we deduce and came back to this materiality. Now the materiality is constituted to four. The earth element, the air element, the water element and the heat element. Out of these four also, the Buddha, doing so much of experimenting, he says, for the beginner, the best is the air element. The air element is manifested as the stiffness, tension and movement. So those who have not specialized sharp mental faculties, they are moving faculty, the moving character, manifestation of the movement and the stiffness and the tension, find easy to understand. That is why whenever we are applying mindfulness, you are trying to see the movements of your body, stiffness, tension of your body. And that is easy even for the children or middle-aged or elderly people to understand. Because movement is easier to understand than the heaviness or heat and cold or fluidity. So that is how this Anapanasati or the mindfulness on the in-breath and the out-breath came into being. So accordingly, when the instructions are given, you are supposed to sit in a firm manner, comfortable manner, without employing or implementing your mind. That means at least no intention. You cut off all the intentions and let the body to sit in a comfortable manner, need not any adjustments. That is why the way you sit, specifically to introduce the intensive method of establishment of the mindfulness, that is sitting meditation. You have to go to a forest or sit under a tree or take a meditation hall whereby all the people understand each other and you keep the body in a standstill manner. You can't do it in the supermarket. You can't do it in the street. You can't do it in the place where other people are really behind sensuous pleasure. Because that unintentional keeping of the body itself is not welcome in this active world. That's why you have to make sure the surroundings are not disturbing you as much as possible when you keep the body calm and quiet. And you sit in a symmetrical way, a relaxed way, so that body can take care about itself for a longer time. That itself demands so much of hours of sitting. We'll say now some or the other, you accept it. You try to keep the body in a sitting posture, need no much of attention or any intention to maintain it. And while you are observing the body, that the body means all the four materialistic parts. It consists of heaviness, the heat and cold, air movements, and its cohesive nature and the fluidity. When you are observing this without giving any intention, without giving any priority, whatever may be arising, whatever may be going to conspicuous, will represent the body form for that given moment. If you are going to feel heat, that heat is representing your being. If you are going to feel the heaviness, that heaviness is the one going to represent your form. And when you are observing form longer time, more and more the body becomes calm and come to the comfort zone. The consistency, the continuous object, often majority find is that the incoming air and the outgoing air, the in-breath and the out-breath. Because it becomes an intrinsic, bare minimum function for a living body. So this is called Kaya Sankhara. Kaya Sankhara means without the breath, you can't live. Breath is the ultimate minimum, the rock bottom, the datum line representing the life, the being. So if someone is find prominent other objects, no problem. That is as far as it is representing the body. But it is given as a general prescription or general recommendation that breath body is the one going consistently while you are keeping the body in a sitting posture. Instead, you can have a standing posture, walking posture, or sleeping or lying down. So, walking and standing need the intention. So, therefore, it is too much active. A lying down posture is conducive for sleepiness. So, therefore, you can't do for longer experimenting. That is why the body posture come into being. So you keep the body erect, symmetrical and relaxed, and keep the mind with the body, and in order to understand the manifestations of the materiality. So whatever may be the consistent materiality is the what going to become your object of meditation. So that is how the many people are going to experience in-breath and out-breath. But they are very simple but serious remark is, if you are chasing behind one or the other character of your materiality, that will lead to complication. Let the manifestation, let the corporeality manifest itself, or otherwise you are picking up what is the most prominent materiality rather than going in search of its symptoms. So this itself is very important even if you are a very senior meditator. Each time you go and sit, you let the body to, let the circumstances to present the object of meditation rather than you are chasing behind something. So therefore you sit comfortably, observe your body and see what represents your being, what represents your sitting posture. So your closed eyes. So if the breath is going to happen, so that is what we call Vayo Dhatu or the air element, and it's called Vayu Pottabha Dhatu. It come and run somewhere or touch somewhere, going to give a kind of a sensation. So if it is rubbing and rushing at your nostril level or on the top of your upper lip, that indicates that technically it is called Anapanasati Bhavana, the mindfulness of the in-breath and out. Some people find it is very subtle, difficult to catch it. If it is under such circumstances, they may find the lowermost part of their respiratory tract, that means diaphragm movements or rising and falling of the abdomen. That is also due to the air element. So that is what the Burmese system, that is what the Maha system, whatever may be, it represents the Vayu Pottabha Dhatu, the manifestation of touch by the movements of air. So when it is going to happen, now you have focused fairly, understood the object of meditation. Now first and foremost what you are going to do is taking this object of meditation to develop the mindfulness, or otherwise keeping the breath in face-to-face. So whenever the breath becomes prominent, naturally you focus your attention, the in-breath, out-breath, or some other people, maybe the rising and falling of that. So while you are keeping definitely the other elements, other mentalities going to cross, such as some pains are rising in terms of heat and cold, or cutting sensation, burning, twisting. So whenever they are prominent, don't try to suppress them, don't antagonize them, just see they are also kind of manifestations of materiality or elements. They are not consistent as your primary object. Once in a way come and disturb or give turbulence and go. The main thing is under such circumstances is to develop, not to worry. Don't consider these distractions as your faults. Don't consider these distractions as your defilements. Don't consider these distractions as some of your disqualifications. And otherwise you will get worked up and your mind will be agitated rather than develop the mindfulness and the concentration. So therefore, you have to wait and see whenever they are ceases to exist, to have air element or in-breath and out-breath face to face, and try to observe as long as possible. And they are each and every breath going to happen. You have to consider as a new one and you have to be with a fresh mind to observe, and that is how you are going to understand the fourfold changes, turning of the materiality in terms of air. The air element manifests in many ways, sometimes as a rubbing, sometimes as vibrations, sometimes as very smooth flow, sometimes as waves. Many manifestations are there. They have their chance to interchange each other. Don't try to have a favoritism. Whatever arising, you just follow. When they are following the Buddha, I will put it this way. Whenever you are managing to keep the breath face to face, sometimes you can put it this way. Predictably, you come up to a certain level. Now I can keep the breath for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Right? That means your body disturbances are fairly under control, and your mind is calm and quiet to accept here and there sounds, here and there pains, and some inner kind of thoughts, not carried away, but know the art to keep the breath face to face. Just like a person is learning how to ride a push bike. At the beginning, he has to have a second person or some other guidance to keep the balance and to gather the momentum. So till that, he has to get a second outside help. After a certain amount of training, he developed the confidence, now I can keep the balance and I can ride up to a certain extent without falling into, even falling into one side, I can get up and get the balance. Something like that, whenever you are going to get the in-breath and out-breath face to face, predictably for a few minutes kind of thing, then we call that is keeping the object face to face. So this is a great achievement, otherwise very difficult to go into the deep pondering into this situation. So when that happens, this is the manifestation of the materiality. Or you may not be happy, but one has to say, this is the manifestation of suffering. In-breath, come and never wait, won't give any peace of mind. It is urging you to out-breath. You are in unrest. Once the in-breath is finished, you can't have peace of mind. It is pushing you to the out-breath. And soon the out-breath goes, you are waiting to get the next breath. This is how the torturing going on. This is how the burning going on. But since you are observing this as a form or air element, you never consider, and not necessarily to be considered, it's as a suffering, that you see the Buddha is showing you how the suffering manifests in terms of air element. That means some stiffness, tension, rubbing sensation, wave-like movements or vibrations. They are keep on moving just like frills and some waves on a water body. So whenever you are to observe a kind of rubbing sensation or vibration, and that manifest, once that rubbing sensation come up to your sensitivity level, your perceivable level, so once it come up to there, you understand, this is in-breath, the beginning of in-breath. And it goes up to a kind of a roughness and then ceases to exist. And after a little gap, the out-breath starts. And whenever it come up to a perceivable level, to your untrained mind, you are going to understand this is the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. So, but reality, you are just observing the tip of the iceberg. When a piece of ice is floating on the water, you see the tip is always above the water. But you have to understand only 1/9 or 1/10 of the total volume is above the water level. If you see a certain amount of tip, you have to assume in physics, 9/10 of the volume is underwater. Exactly the way, when you are observing the in-breath and out-breath, your tip of the iceberg is what you feel. But there's a huge amount, you can't feel it because your mindfulness is not sharp. Your concentration is not alive. So therefore, in order to show you, without taking the iceberg out of the water, to show you there are some other parts, the Buddha is asking, just try to see as and when the in-breath happens. Or be prepared when the in-breath starts. So there you can understand, if you be prepared, if you are vigilant, if you are diligent, you can see it is coming from unperceivable level to the perceivable level. There's a kind of a changeover. For example, when you are going and looking at the eastern sky at the early morning, the darkness is slowly disappearing and the dawn going to come, and then only the 30 minutes after only the real sun come into being. So if you are late, you will see already a risen sun. Or if you go a little early, you can see the rising sun. And if you still go early, you can see before the sun rises. There are some other preparation at the eastern sky that is called the dawn. And the dawn also have different gradings. 30 minutes before the sun comes, the just breakthrough happens. So if you are to see it, you have to go beforehand and wait there, expecting now something going to happen, the darkness ceases to exist and the light going to happen. So this everything is telling you are advancing and be prepared to see not only the rising of the sun, but a rising of the dawn. Instead, if you go delayed, you will see already a risen sun and you will think it as a mystic or it is celestial being coming to existence. But if you are undelayed, not negligent, instead if you are vigilant and go little bit before, and if you make it a habit, one day you will see the rising sun. Not only that, you will see the rising dawn also. There you can see the gradual process, and that is called you are bringing the attention more and more to the beginning of the phenomena. So here the phenomena is the touch of the incoming air. So when and where the perceivability, unperceivable breath, in-breath, going to become perceivable, you must be fully attentive, fully vigilant, fully mindful, waiting there. Then you can see, yesterday it was unperceivable, now due to your vigilance, due to your diligence, due to your mindfulness, due to your preparedness, due to your well-preparedness, you can see little by little the unperceivable part. This is the way you cut through and go into the establishment of the mindfulness. Or you become more and more sharp. Or you have to be more and more vigilant. You have to be more and more diligent, and preparedness is the common sense, common term, common instruction. So this is what the teaching of the Buddha, if you have to summarize into one word, that is diligence. So always the Buddha says, first catch it at the gross level. And let it happen again and again. And that is to keep the object face to face it. And then when the situation comes under control, you tamed it, you docile it, you make it assured. Now focus the attention to the early beginning of part of the in-breath. So this is almost exactly like when you are dealing with the epidemic situation, you have to see early symptoms in order to recognize the root cause. Otherwise, the patient may be showing a lot of complications, maybe secondary infections and complications. Therefore, symptoms are complicated. So you have to announce the country, telling them there is a epidemic there, and therefore don't wait till the symptoms become complicated. Come to the hospital and meet a doctor as early as possible. Then only you are bound to get the early symptoms, and with the early symptoms only you can reduce the root cause. Exactly the way when the breath become your when the breath become face to face with you, each time when you are observing, you have to see the early beginning of the in-breath, early beginning of the out-breath. But this is also, this part itself, I think it is challengeable, and therefore it says, in order to have that kind of a sharpness, first generally see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. Don't just observe, but instead be very specific, be very diligent to see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. Now I am really dealing in the meditation of the inside meditation, inside side. So therefore, whenever someone is instructing you for samatha meditation or the serenity type or concentration type, they may not emphasize you to see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. But if you are on the inside side, where to go deep into the understanding of the root cause of suffering, you have to be sharp, very discreet, very delimiting, understanding the in-breath versus the out-breath, the in-breath experience versus out-breath. That is how you sharpen the mindfulness. With that sharpened mindfulness, I would add some more in order to discriminate. It says when the in-breath happens, you must have a clear understanding this is not out-breath. When the out-breath happens, you must have a clear understanding this is not in-breath. Or in order to emphasize further, you can say, when and where you are observing in-breath under your very nose, you must be very sharp. This is not out-breath, this is not a thought, this is not a sound, this is not a pain. But this is in-breath. Whenever in-breath goes away and gives rise to the out-breath, now you must understand this is now out-breath. It is not in-breath, not the sound, not the thought, not the pain. So much you must be sharp when and where possible, and this sharpness also you have to now introduce. Not just be happy by looking at the middle of in-breath, try to see its beginning. Not just be happy with the cross out-breath, try to see its beginning. So in the Satipatthana Sutta or in the Anapanasati Sutta, the other suttas where the Buddha is instructing on this in-breath and out-breath, he says, whenever the gross in-breath is happening, you understand the gross in-breath. Whenever the gross out-breath is happening, you understand gross out-breath. Whenever the situation becomes calm down and the in-breath becomes subtle or short, you understand the in-breath as short, out-breath as short. And when that means that breath is face-to-face now, situation is under control. Under such circumstances, he says, Sambhakaya patisanvedi asasisamiti sikkati, Tabbakaya patisanvedi pasasisamiti sikkati. That means now you must be ready to see the whole breath. That means including the beginning and the end. That's a point where you sharpen your mindfulness to see or be prepared even to the unperceivable preparation of the in-breath. And to see the preparation of the out-breath. And if one is sharp, if one really understands the instructions of the Buddha, he says, our untrained mind see only the middle of the phenomena, but a bit big. When we become angry, we see already developed anger. when you become desire, we see already developed desire, there you are the slave. Situation, master. So if you wish to take the situation under control, don't be worked up. Don't be angry with that. This desire, this hate, this in-breath, this out-breath, this left leg, this right leg, again and again happening. It is a recurrent thing. It's a given situation. Life is something recurrent. So when knowing that, what you have to do is, you have to understand if you are delayed, if you are negligent, you are bound to see already developed in-breath, out-breath, hate, desire, sleepiness, everything. So now your task is to see how it is developing, how the beginning. Whenever you are to see the beginning of any phenomena, whatever the primary object is, exactly the way it is cutting through from the surface to the middle. This is the trick. This is the way you are taking the situation under control. So you have to be so patient and so sharp in directing your attention, that is called diligence, not to get delayed, not to neglect the phenomena to mature under the light of, or under the darkness of unmindfulness. Instead, under the light of mindfulness, you have to see arising part of the phenomena, or arising part of the in-breath, arising part of the out-breath. So when more and more you go there to see the beginning, now you see not only the middle, but middle together with the beginning. There you are the very first person going to understand, now mind is slowly penetrating. Slowly be prepared, slowly vigilant, as and when the phenomena are going to arrive. Now here, under the present explanation, we are talking about the sitting meditation and focusing on the in-breath and out. So when this is going to happen, more and more sharpness happens. Buddha says, more and more you to see the beginning, you are definitely endowed with and be rich with, so that you are bound to see the end of it. If you are hearing, steering, focusing, be diligent, be mindful toward the early part of the in-breath and out-breath, the Buddha says it's an endowment. Definitely your mind will be sharp. That early start is going to give a very gross in-breath feeling, and when it ceases to exist, the same diligence, same mindfulness will help you to see the end of it. It is a given fact, where your attention must be always to see the beginning. So this is how you are going to see the beginning, the middle and end of the physical phenomenon. We can put it in the specific way, the beginning, the middle and the end of the in-breath. The beginning, the middle and the end of the out-breath. So whenever you are developing more and more, each and every breath you have to consider as a completely a new one, and go still further to the beginning, and so much so you are bound to see the end of the out-breath. So in order to make this effort more fruitful, more pragmatic, I would say, consider the in-breath, out-breath as one way, focus the attention as much as possible to the early part of the in-breath, and try to see, according to the circumstances, the tail end of the out-breath. More and more you to see the tail end of the out-breath, and if you are tracing it to the last drop, the tapering end of it, you will see accordingly your breath will be calm, the body will be calm, and the mind will be calm. And so much so, the mindfulness will be sharp, and the diligence will be sharp, and your preparedness. As far as you are bound to see the beginning, it's an endowment, it's a gift that you are to see the end. So when you are seeing beginning, the middle and end, what happens is the object of meditation and the observing mind become closer and closer and closer. When they come up to the closeness, there's no much of a chance for the thoughts to come and interfere. No much of chances for the sounds to come and interfere, or the pains to come and interfere. If you are looking from the distance, definitely they come and interfere. This is the case at the beginning. So you have to be patient. More and more you go to this, more and more you to see the continuous mindfulness with the breath, that means face to face with the breath and all, you must never satisfied telling, now I achieved. You have to almost rubbing, keep on vigilant, and then only the object of meditation and the mind becomes close. When you become closer and closer, you feel kind of a protection. Even the thoughts are there behind, even the pains are there, sounds are there at the surrounding. You can have the relationship with the in-breath and out-breath. When this connection is going to happen, that means the closeness to the object going to happen, there's a special thing or special natural universal law going to manifest, so that the difference between the in-breath and out-breath become disappearing. Both the in-breath and out-breath going to become more and more common than the gross in-breath and out-breath. If you fail to understand that, you will interpret as boredom. You will interpret as monotonous. You will interpret as not interesting. So therefore, not only you must be prepared to see the beginning of the in-breath and the end of the out-breath, you must understand more and more you to be with the in-breath and out-breath longer, the monotony, the boredom, some kind of uncertainty, sometimes sleepiness going to set in. So, uninstructed yogis, when they are practicing, often fall into sleep. Or sometimes they feel boring, therefore they start to do forced breathing. They never allow to breathe to slow down. They open their eyes and start forced breathing. I would say not a single yogi, those who have not mastered it without doing these mistakes. So therefore it is not an individual mistake. This is what happens. This is our rational mind, how it works. So therefore, don't worry about your early mistakes. Do it again and again. When and where the breath becomes subtle, and you are bound to see the early part of the in-breath and as much as possible the cessation of the out-breath, you must be prepared that mind may play tricks. So they don't give in to get up and go, or to open your eyes to go for forced breathing, or do not let the mind to fall into sleep. Observe or monitor, so much so you go there that you are facilitating the mindfulness and the diligence, and therefore one sitting is not enough. Today's one sitting's good part, you have to continue to the second sitting, third sitting, and slowly you can go into the deep layers, and there are more and more you to see the beginning of the in-breath. You are bound to see the end of the breath. So this is directly proportionate to the suffering. If you take the breath is vibration, torturing, or wave, if you are to see the beginning of it, you are bound to see the cessation of this vibration, the cessation of this suffering, the cessation of this disturbance. So this is a micro level of understanding how the beginning of the suffering and how the end of the suffering. And more you to do it, all the distractions, thoughts come and distract, pain come and sounds come and everywhere you are assimilating your own ways and means how to keep the breath in view in midst of all the kind of distraction. That is how you develop your own pathway to maintain this observation towards the cessation of the in-breath and out-breath. So when that materiality, you take the materiality as such and develop this model, exactly the same thing can apply to the mentality. When and where any anger going to arise, when and where any desire going to happen. For example, if you are a person with so much of desires or clinging, there may be some things always you cling to. As your character trait or your personality trait. When such a thing happens, when and where it happens, try to see how this clinging appearing. Because you have to understand the clinging you can feel once it becomes gross. So if it is a repetitive thing, you have enough chances when and where such a thing happen to see its door, how it arises. And therefore you must not have a negative feeling towards your desire. Just observe the rising part. This is you have to do in the pure experimental level, pure scientific method. So you must not consider that desire as your desire. You are taking the desire as a subject matter or raw material to see the beginning of the desire. Or if you are a person with so much of agitation or restlessness or irritation or hatred, understand that the hatred becomes prominent once it becomes to the maturity. So you must always let the hatred happen in the natural course of life and understand the beginning of it. You can't do it unless otherwise you practice with this materiality, something like in-breath and out-breath. So in-breath and out-breath have no much of a direct impact like the other defilements, mental defilement. But this is, you have to understand, it's a lab experiment. It's a laboratory experimentation. You sharpen your mindfulness and the concentration. With that sharp mindfulness and the concentration, even without any instructions, naturally your whole day's emotional body or your desires come under the light of mindfulness. There you can understand each and everyone has its own beginning, the middle and the end. Untrained mind is always grappling with the middle. It never worries to see the beginning, therefore it never sees the end. If you wish to see the end, your attention must be to the beginning. These are the rule of thumbs the Buddha is presenting, that later you may understand even the good qualities, something like devotion, something like the energy, something like mindfulness. Everything has this same pattern, S-shaped curve, not the S-shaped curve, the bell-shaped curve. It has the beginning, the middle and the end. At the beginning you are dealing with this negative one, and in order to sharpen the mindfulness towards this negative one, you are dealing with this neutral materiality. From that, you can apply it to the day-to-day activities also. That is the exact thing what happened in the walking meditation. With a little bit of mindfulness, you go outside, then hearing happens, seeing happens, intentions are there. While these distractions are there, how to maintain the mindfulness. So you are letting the natural friction to arise in order to sharpen your mindfulness and get higher immunity and resistance power. Then only you can take that into your day-to-day life. So early beginning part, don't try to and don't overestimate. So let the normal things happen. Let it come and disturb you or defile you, but don't expect that big differences. But be patient, give the attention more and more to the sitting and walking. Ultimately, it will give the lesson, whatever it may be. If you can observe early, it is easy to nip it at the butt level. If you allow to grow, definitely it is, you become the slave. Your faculties become very weak. So, going back to the base is the basic theme in this particular sutta. Therefore, the Buddha says, whatever the aggregates you are going to use, materiality as form, or feeling, or perception, you have to understand the aggregate, the form as such, and then pay the attention to its beginning. More and more you understand the beginning part, you are bound to see the tail end, and you are bound to see your own ways and means to see the end of materiality, and same thing you can apply to the mentality with the time to come. So therefore, this is a kind of a particular discourse bringing you back to the very source and understanding the root cause and deal it in the theoretical way or laboratory way. ultimate resources you put into the field level and at the national level before prescribing at the society at large. That is the way that from the sitting to walking to day-to-day activities, and that is how you are going to control all the mentality and materiality with the help of this diligence. So, with tomorrow and day after, we will slowly go into more detail. Today I just wanted to give a basic introduction, and then if that very introduction and instruction helpful for your sitting and walking also, and further giving the theoretical background or book knowledge as to why we are taking this breath body and why we are observing it, because it is not an accident, it's a well thought about, and therefore more and more you practice with diligence, it will be easy for you to understand the other Dhamma talks and the why Buddha is teaching, and it will be an encouragement for you to do the presenting with the resolute faith. That's all I thought of sharing with you. Thank you very much for listening. So we have taken about 1 hour and little more than 1 hour. If any questions or any kind of clarification or anything necessary, we can take little time.
It's very, very difficult to see, say, you have some sort of desire or hatred to see the beginning. It's very difficult.
That is basically because that you have original likings and disliking and your value judgment. So value judgment is definitely, for example, I have a desire for this object. And when as it arises, and if I am not well instructed, if I am not practically sound in my understanding, I feel the desirability is attribution of the object. But you have to understand, this object do not have any intention for us to create any desire. It creates just the impingement and the startling. But that is coming and impinging is something physical. But the desire is something coming out and going out, something coming in and going out. So there, if you can't slice the game and see what is coming from into the out, what is coming from the out to the in, you will get caught up and the wrong decision. It is desirability. Desirability is not an attribution of that. Desirability is your influx. So therefore the Buddha is asking, when you see a desirable visual object, the object itself has no intrinsic feature of desire or indesire. It is something unconscious thing. We are the one attributing desire or undesire. That's why one person can do, two people can do at the one same object and have two different feelings. Different people come from different upbringings. So therefore, you have the same object, they will give different interpretation because their desire is a kind of a assumed quality. It is coming from into the out. The seeing is something coming from out to in. So if you can't discriminate it, you can't cut into two, definitely your question is valid. For example, when you are doing breathing, if you can't understand the in-breath versus out-breath, you are in the jam. You may be meditating for 16, 17 years, never you know, no go. So you have to understand this is the air coming from into the out to the in. So that understand the difference. So therefore, untrained mind, whenever it sees, whenever it hears, always pouring desire or undesire. Manapapana. So, if you are not prepared, you think that object has that desirability. Object has this desirability. And then you are grappling with the object, thinking you are very innocent. That object startles you, object give the desire or non-desire. But the main difficulty is that very advertisers are really making use of it. So you are trapped. The advertisement you can see this, they say our product is more desired. The product is desired. They are really using your vulnerability, your untrained mind in the information technology and in the advertisements. So you have to understand the desire or lack of desire is not an attribution of that product. It is what you project. That is the point of Buddha. It's very sharp. He says 1001 times, observe it again and again. If you are to observe same thing for a long time, there is a sensational transference. That indicates the desire is not constant. When you are a hunger person, when you give a plate of rice, the very first morsel is very desired. You will be very thankful. But when you, to the end of the stomach full, each and every morsel is going to not carry the same desire, but the same plate. So this sensational transference is what we call anicca. It's also impermanent. But if you are amused with the desire and hatred, you will never see, when you are grappling with the same object, the desirability ceases to exist. What we do instantly is variety entertainment, we are changing the objects. So much so we can't see the sensational transference. So Buddha says, fix one object, apply the mind again and again to see the sensational transference, then only you can understand this applicable for anything. Anything you are going to associate long time, its value is always reducing. Except Dhamma. Only the exception is more and more association. Dhamma is assuming all the material things. If you observe the same thing again and again, it becomes pale, it becomes monotonous, it becomes dull, it becomes useless. So that's why we are changing. That is called varietal entertainment. That's called the diversification. That is how this present-day consumerization society is leading people. Same product they are changing, exactly the same, but each day it appears bigger price tag and giving you the advertisement. Because you don't know, you think that product is going to give you a desirability. Product never gives, only you, your influx and attribution is you are pouring into the product, and that is how you become hooked up with it. So therefore, consider it is deep, consider it's a profound thing, but in incessant manner you have to observe the relationship with one particular object. When and where you are going to associate the same thing, if it is sensuous object, definitely the image becomes little and little and little, ultimately become a nuisance. So, but whenever it comes to the spiritual thing, completely other way, more and more you to associate, your respect is ever increasing. So you have to understand these things. So it says usually you come to understand these at 40s. Till that you see everything is attractive, everything is good and productive and kindly. At the 40s only, your faculties become somewhat, you have your own experience, your own the memory, and then you understand whatever may be, as you see the first sight is very attractive, but you have to see again and again, everything is losing its image. So these all has to use in a deductive way in order to keep your meditative life in an incessant way. Otherwise, if you are going to go with a result-oriented way, it's very boring. Very difficult to continue meditation because it won't give quick results at the beginning. Painfully slow. But when you go deep, only you understand the teaching of the Buddha, how you can explain it to yourself, how you can deduce these kind of things with the common sense and your direct touch at the teaching of the Buddha, then only you will understand the value of your investment. Yes.
But what is the exact meaning or translation in English of rupa?
Form.
Form.
Materiality, corporeality.
And why is used the word form instead of matter? That is more...
Yeah, you can say matter. You can say the form, corporeality, sometimes called as body. Body also is a representative of the matter. The form. They have different shades of meanings, but you can consider them as synonyms. Corporeality, matter, form is it's a general class.
The form is better than the others.
That depends according to the individual translator. The Pali term is rupa. Rupa, considered it as rupa is something has a touching quality.
Rupa means touching.
Touching quality, and that touching also, whenever it is going to happen again and again, the sensation changes. The same touch, for the first time it is different. If it is going to happen again and again, the sensation is changing. That is the matter, that is the attribution of rupa. Rupati iti rupa. It's irritating, or it's a contact, but the contact also, if it is going to happen repetitively, your sensational transference is there. Same thing if you have the touch, it loses its interest.
And the five aggregates is talking about your own form, not external forms. No?
You can put into both.
Both.
That internal, external. Because that whenever the desire as a causative factor for the suffering, desire has three facets. The sensuous desire, the ego confirmation, and ego negation. So whenever sensuous desire is concerned, it is related to your faculty and what is already impinged in your eye, ear, nose kind of. Whenever the self-confirmation happens, your son's desire, your parents' desire, teacher's desire, so external thing also come into being, and agglomeration happen. It is become your responsibility to protect their own desires, and that became another hook. That became another shackle. And when you are going to be the broad-minded to take care about the whole family, whole office, whole country, whole kind of thing, there are some negative things come and disturb. Then you become vehemently against and going to kill them. And you are going to sacrifice even your likings and disliking in order to satisfy the self-confirmation kind of thing. It has become very destructive. So likewise, the desire has kama tanna, bhava tanna, vibhava tanna. The very first one is the one easy to understand, that gratification of sensuous pleasure. They are the internal thing is concerned. But the gratification and the confirmation of the ego is concerned, my dear and near ones also become subject. They are external thing also come into being. Situation becomes a little bit complicated in the social life.
And the other aggregates are more like personal, more like perception and volition.
Feelings.
Feelings, it has to do with your own experience, let's say personal, the way you feel or perceive or...
But later when you go to the self-confirmation, likings and disliking of your dear and near ones also become yours. You have to protect it. You have to safeguard it.
But cultural things too.
Yeah. So ultimately it is slowly spreading. You take yourself as a role model, and then if you have children, parents or teachers or kind of thing, if the desire of child also become part and parcel of yours. And you have to protect it. In order to protect your egoistic, your self-centered life. You think you are protecting child's desire, but ultimately because if it is so, you must be protect the neighborhood child's desires also. You are not worried about that. You are worried about your own child's desire. That is to ascertain your own self.
And I never understood exactly what it means, like mental formations. Is that like concepts and
fabrications?
ideas?
Your fabrications.
That
To
ideas
just,
and
that basically it indicates you are not happy with the present moment. You wanted to adjust it little bit in order to increase the satisfaction. So you are always thinking about adjusting and recreation, modeling, fabricating, because presently you are not content. So therefore,
morality or ethics,
everywhere.
it's included there.
Yeah, it is there, and you are not happy with your family members. You want to adjust it. You want to discipline it. And all the time that indicates presently you are not content. Uncontent mind is ever thinking about adjusting. It is making turmoils in your pool. And it appears like a beneficial, it appears like a good, and it appears like a socially good character. And ultimately, when things are not happening in the proper order, you become a devil. You become a martyr. Even for martyrs, killing you. And you see, why not that? I started with in the innocent way and my own rights I was thinking, but the other person came and distracted me, so it is my duty to kill him. So that is how the entanglement happens in terms of volitional creations, mental formations. Some people call them as fabrications. So it is, that itself has many shades of meaning. In the Sankhara itself has a very shades of meaning in the Tripitaka itself. And the translation into English also very difficult, because English is a positive language. It never sees the formation as something negative or defiling. It considers it as something creative. It's something as a productive. So it is giving support. But you don't know that creativity and productivity may indicate you are not satisfied. You are not contented now, otherwise there is no necessity for creativity and productivity. Because the children, they are happy. They are not worrying about any productivity unless otherwise the parents are going to introduce.
And what about the precepts?
Precepts.
Precepts.
The precepts also a kind of adjustments in order to get the least frictional part. So therefore it is a part and parcel of formation. Sankhara.
The good and bad.
It is definitely with the good and the bad. At the moral level you have the good and the bad. The concentration level also there. But in the insight level also, first time you are questioning it. For the first time you are to question it. Therefore it is profound. Because after a certain level, you have to give up the convention and go to the absolutes. When you are going to the absolutes, that I will put it in this way. Before you are understanding the difference between the absolute and the convention, you are mixed up with the good and the bad. So therefore, you have to give up the good, bad and select the good. But when you are going from the convention to the absolute means, now you have to grapple with the good and the better. And at the face of better, you have to give up the good. And if you are failing to give up, telling that I earned my good at the fighting with the bad, so I gave up bad and selected, how can I give up my good? That is the point you get hooked up there. You forget that you are at the face of better. Even at the face of better, you are holding to your own good. That is the conservative nature. We are in a rut. We are always fighting for our rights in order to protect good, even at the face of better. And the lay people are masters of that. Their life is that. You never go for radical ways. Always protect yourself, and you are carrying your own suffering behind you. And struggling, climbing the mountain, telling, I have so much of a big heap behind. That is only your goodness, so-called goodness that you selected as yourself. You are not ready to give it up at the face of better. So it is the way we call that spirituality means going against the grain. It is not meditation, it is just value judgment. It's a kind of a thing Buddha giving in a radical way. So only by meditation you can't do it. You have to have the mindset. At the face of it, am I ready to give up the good? You see, it is really difficult. Really difficult. So that's why we are justifying the good. So that means we never thread past from convention to the absolute. We are at the threshold.
That's what Nissarana.
So at the Nissarana, you have to give up simply good. Renunciation means not giving up anything bad. Everything you have earned, everything is so-called good, give up little bit. Even the generosity is, you are giving something suitable for you. Something eatable, you give it to someone unknown. Unrelated, without expecting it. Morality also, giving fearlessness to the others, not with the expectation of anything. So slowly, you are refining. In order to earn better, you are ready to give up good. Otherwise, no refreshment. Like the same cage. Okay, there are questions. We can sum up the day's work. Now it is 9 o'clock. So just like the last year and the year before, things went so far very good, or as scheduled. So we must thankful to all the people help in this organizing this to the success of this point, all the seen and unseen beings, and we are sharing our merits with all the people help, as well as we are sharing merits with our departed relatives and the other relatives, and make our objectives clear and objectives straightened with the help of merits we accumulated within this whole day's work of meditation. With that idea, we are going to recite the stanzas according to the traditional way in Sri Lankan meritorial deeds. So we are going to recite Ittavata Jammi. Ittavata Jammi Sambhatam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Deva Numodantu Sabba Sampatti Siddhya. Ittavata Jammi Sambhatam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Bhuta Numodantu. Ittavata Jammi Sambhatam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Sattha Numodantu Sabba Sampatti Siddhya. Akasata Chubummatta Devanaga Mahitika Punyantam Anumoditva Chirakrakkantu Sasanam. Akasata Chubummatta Devanaga Mahitika Punyantam Anumoditva Chirakrakkantu Desanam. Akasata Chubummatta Devanaga Mahitika Punyantam Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Mampara. Idang vo jnatiyenang hotu sukhita hontu jnatiyo. Idang vo jnatiyenang hotu sukhita hontu jnatiyo. Idang vo jnatiyenang hotu sukhita hontu jnatiyo. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.